What is up, YouTube? It is Doc here, Docky Style Gaming, and I am back at it again with another Godfall video for you all today. Now in this video, we're going to be quickly breaking down some of the lore info that we got today recently. Most of it I've covered on the channel, but it did go a bit more in depth, so I'll be breaking down some of the extra details that y'all might want to know about the story. But for those of you who are just interested in the Cliff Notes, like I've covered in a lot of my other lore videos, this aspect of the story pretty much contains two Orin and Macros slaying the gods and sending them back to the spirit realm. It's about the massive war and armies that were acquired and the forces and resources needed to actually take down these gods one by one. Ultimately, the Valorians won and sent the Archons back to the spirit realm, but now that they're gone, of course, something new is lingering in the distance. But for those of you who want the more detailed explanation, I'll be breaking that down for y'all all right now. So, like I always say, without wasting any more of y'all's time, let's hop straight into this new info. So as I ended my last video talking about some of the lore, we actually got a bit more information on what caused this start of the Godfall and what actually a Godfall is. So as the lore is pretty much contained, I have already mentioned how the Archons were created and how they created the Valorians. But now in this video, we're going to be breaking down what happened after the Valorians were created. Now again, I have multiple lore videos on the channel if you want to check that out, so definitely check those out if you're confused on any lore aspects of this game. But essentially, shortly after the Valorians were created to slay the Craven, the Valorians began to build their cities, and around this time is when the Archons also began to fight amongst themselves. Now while fighting amongst themselves, this is where they also started to create the other races, the Abyssians of the water realm, the Nyack who we've recently seen in the air realm, but ultimately none of them were stronger than their firstborn or the Valorians. Now for those of you who checked out my last video, you know that the Valorplates are actually named after the Archon, not just inspired by their designs. So though while some of the Archons were fighting amongst themselves, some of them tried to form allegiances between them. And two of the Archons that formed an allegiance was Silvermane and Hinterclaw, and this is where Orin and Macros essentially first met. Now Macros was described as their fiercest champion, and Orin was a rising up and coming champion at the time. And because they pretty much can't get along, Hinterclaw and Silvermane essentially broke their alliance. Now at this time, Macros was currently, like I said, their fiercest champion and potentially one of the strongest Valorians in a period. Now clearly this didn't sit too well with the Archon Silvermane, so he sent Orin to go and exploit the Archon Hinterclaw's champion's greatest weakness. Now it wasn't until then that Orin realized that it was Macros who was tearing through challengers and realized that their power together was essentially a force to be reckoned with. So this is where they eventually decided to plan to kill a god. Now of course they knew this wasn't going to be easy, so they had to find a way to lure a god to kill a god. So at this time they started to create a band of other Valorians to join their cause. Now while they were gathering their band, Macros ordered Orin to kill any Valorian that wouldn't join their cause in fear that they might retaliate or tell the other Archons. Now apparently this still haunts Orin to this day that he was forced to kill some of the Valorians, but he still went ahead and went through it. But now that they essentially have their band of Valorians, they lured Silvermane, the Archon of Courage, into a trap. And of course, the battle between a god and the Valorians soon followed. Now typically a god could take on any Valorian, but as the lore stated, the numbers essentially overwhelmed Silvermane, and the Valorians ultimately defeated him, vanishing him from the physical realm, thus sending him back to the spirit realm. Now from the Archon Silvermane's armor, a sword was crafted called the Sword of Courage, crafted by the Godsmith and given to Orin. And in a similar sense, when Hinterclaw was destroyed, Macros was given the Sword of Dominance. Now of course, once Silvermane was killed, Orin and Macros were seen as traitors by the Archon. And of course they tried to send many to stop them, but none of them could. But as more Valorians began to join their cause, they continued to kill their respected Archons. Silvermane, Hinterclaw, Phoenix, Vertigo, Mesa, Typhon, Armistice, Greyhawk, Aegishorn, Bulwark, Illumina, and Mobius were all sent ultimately back to the spirit realm. Now typically this is where everything should wrap up and be all hunky-dory, but of course that isn't the case. Macros, ultimately like Orin, thought that one day, like the Archons, the Valorians might fight amongst themselves as well. And of course with Macros being a bit power hungry, as we know so far lore-wise, all of the other races are now in servitude of Macros. So something clearly has happened to where all of the races serve Macros, their new potential God King. And if you see what I just did there, give me some dap on the DL in the comment section. But that's pretty much it when it comes to the new lore that we recently just got for Godfall. So like I always say, let me know what y'all all personally think about this lore and info. Hopefully some of this is actually shown in the gameplay, because I love that cinematic trailer, so I'd love to see some of the fights between the actual Archons and the Valorians in action. I think that'd be pretty sick, but hopefully in some form or fashion in the game, we get more of a show rather than a tell. So that's all I really got for this video. Thank you all for watching. Like always, I'll be leaving links to all my social media accounts in the video description. Discord link is left in there as well. Be sure to leave a like if you liked the video, leave a dislike if you didn't. Thanks for watching. Thanks for the love. Thanks for the subs. Peace.